Hello, I'm John with Roadkill Incorporated, and I have a problem. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of iPods, and they're taking up space, and they're all unorganized and cluttered, and I don't know what I have, and I really need to count and organize these. I bought all these from recyclers. Recyclers usually scrap these, but I paid them not to, and so I have all of these that have accumulated over time. I've been kind of intimidated to tackle this project because honestly, I just don't know that much about these. There's just so many models, and I don't know if they're working or not. But yeah, what inspired me to do this finally is that I came across Colin, who has the Does Not Compute YouTube channel, and he did a really, really great video. I'll put it in the notes that details all of the iPods. It tells you all about them one by one, a lot about the history, pros and cons of each model, recommendations. Just an absolutely great video. So I even made notes. Yeah, I made notes. So I'm finally prepared to do this video. Thanks to Colin. I actually met him once. He's a good guy. He works at Free Geek, a recycler in Minneapolis, or he volunteers there at least. It's a recycler that bothers to repair repairable stuff and then sell it. They can only do that because people volunteer their time. But great place. I don't think he would remember me. It was very brief. But yeah, so here we go. I am going to count and organize the iPods and also put them in a better place where they are on display and will free up my shelves. So I went looking around and I found this shelf on eBay, which seemed good enough. Looks pretty modern and it had the capacity I needed. So I bought it, I put it together, and then when I went to lie it down on the floor, look at this, it broke right in half. It just has no internal strength to it. So this is a total piece of junk, basically. I would not recommend one of these. Even if I hadn't broken it, there's no way it would have stood up on its own without being screwed into the wall in a few places, which on second thought I wouldn't really want to do. So I packed it back up and sent it back. Had lots of fun getting that thing back in the box. And next try, I checked out Craigslist, which I should have done in the first place, and I found this for $25, which seemed perfect. All right, here we are. Here's the shelf. I'm very impressed with it. It's pretty sturdy. I think the iPods will go too deep, so we'll have two layers. I think I'm going to start from the bottom because the first several generations are much heavier. So if we have 150 pounds of those or something, we want that weight on the bottom so it doesn't cause this thing to teeter. But yeah, there it is, and let's get going. All right, got everything off the shelves and onto the two tables, and here they all are. Way more stuff than I realized I had. Like I said, it's just a matter of pickup by pickup, handfuls of iPods in each pickup, and just being stashed on the shelves, and they really accumulate. Lots of iPhones in here too. I will be separating those out as part of the process because we don't need to be dealing with iPhones. We will start with Gen 1 and 2. All right, so here we go. First and second gen iPods that look pretty much the same on first glance. This is the iPod that Steve Jobs brought out on stage and that looked so innovative and amazing, and now, well, it's kind of chunky. I mean, look at that. It's kind of a brick. Look at the FireWire port. I mean, that would not be acceptable now. Hard to undo with one hand. But yeah, look at that. That's a little crazy. This is my first generation that I've had all along. The main element that determines whether it's a first gen or a second gen is that the first gen, you can see that there's a physical scroll wheel like that. You're actually getting a physical piece moving, whereas with these guys, it's just touch sensitive. It doesn't actually move. So that's the easiest way to tell. Another is that first gen doesn't have a cover over the FireWire, whereas second gen does. The sizes are different. I think these are 6 gig. Also, the font is different on first gen versus second gen. More of an italic sort of font. What else? These are, I think, 10 gig. And interesting to note, these two here are 20 gig. Look at how much thicker that is. So this is the thickest iPod ever. Definitely the 20 gig second gen. But I don't know why this screen is kind of dark. That's very odd. Maybe it was a replacement screen. Maybe it's smashed. I don't know. But anyway, so I have 3 first gen and 12 second gen. So 15 of these guys. And I'm going to put a counter like down there in the corner as we go, so we can watch the numbers accumulate. There they are, inaugurating the shelf. And obviously we have a long ways to go. Moving on to the third generation, it looks like I have 51 of these, quite a few. You can spot these easily because of the 4 buttons, and it's all touch. There's no mechanical parts on these. Third gen is where the dot connector, the 30-pin connector that we all know and love, came into play. There's also a fat and a thin version. There's the 40 gig here and the 20 gig here. And what else? These aren't that popular. I mean, they refined the design quite a bit, but these require FireWire to charge, which is a pain because getting the cabling and all of that these days is not easy. So it's not an especially desirable model. And on to generation 4. Fourth gen is a nicer iPod. They refined the design. They just have a scroll wheel. You don't have the 4 buttons. It charges off of USB now, which is really nice. Makes it much more viable of a device to still use today. There's a fat version. You can see some of them are fatter. The 40 and 60 gig are fat. The 20 gig are thin. There is a color version. I have no idea which of these is color. It's not completely obvious that I can tell. And then you have the, I don't know what they called it, if it was the U2 version or the Code Red version, but you have the U2 signatures on the back, which is kind of cool. Too bad they're all so scratched up. Recyclers are just not good for keeping anything in good shape, but yeah, it is what it is. So there you have it, 71 iPod 4th generations. So checking in on the shelf, it's looking really, really good. I'm impressed that generations 1 through 4 fit on 2 of 10 shelves. So I have hopes that maybe they will all fit. We'll see. I like the bottom row facing forward like that. I wish they could all do that. It shows them off a little better, but I just can't take the risk that someone bumping the thing would, knock 300 iPods onto the floor. So I don't think I'll do that. But anyway, good progress so far. Maybe when this gets loaded up, this horrible echo will disappear. That would be nice. We'll see. All right, and now we have iPod 5, iPod 5th generation. It's magic, look at that. We have 81 black and 61 white, so a total of 142 iPod 5th generation. I guess these are called classics often, or iPod video. They're all color as far as I understand. I don't know though, I'm not impressed with the aesthetics of these. They really scratch up. I see thousands of devices and I really get a sense of which ones hold up as they come through recyclers and which ones don't, and these are just terrible. I wonder if you can buff out the scratches on these. But overall, I get a lot of demand for iPod 6s, and I really understand why people would want 6s instead of these 5s, because they're just not that impressive as devices. But there you go. Now for the iPod Classic 6, we have 81 of these. The coloration of these is a little strange. You've obviously got the black, and then you've got the silver, and then sort of this dark gray. But there's also sort of a purplish one. I don't know if that's a real color, or if it's a result of, I don't know, sitting in the sun or some kind of damage. Really not sure. Sort of an odd color. And then there's this one, which, I don't know, probably was a result of a bored student in a classroom. There are some fatter ones of these. They are 160 gig instead of 80 and 120, I think. What else? This is the model people want. This is more popular than any of the others, and I can see why. The curvature of the case is kind of appealing somehow. These are 6s, but I guess there are 7s in here too. Not really clear on the difference. I think 7s are just kind of a subset of 6, and they have a bigger drive or something like that. Not really sure. Just so you know, this is not the video to watch if you want to learn about iPods. You should watch Colin for that, or Hugh Jeffries. This is the video where you go, wow, look at that idiot with all the iPods. Just to be clear. Done with the classic iPods and on to the iPod minis. We're making a pretty good dent, probably about half left. Thought I had a lot more of these, but I think I've given them away. People are attracted to the sort of cotton candy colors of these, which, you know, makes sense. They're kind of appealing, but they take them and they don't realize they're hard to repair. Like the previous one, there are some strange colorations, like light blue, dark blue, light green, dark green. And again, I don't know if that's a result of age or sun, or if Apple actually released different colors for the different years. I assume they probably did. But anyway, here's a gold, I think gold, very faint gold, and then obviously that one's a skin. I forgot to give a count on the minis. There are 61 minis total, and checking in on the shelf, it's looking pretty darn good. The 5s and the 6s are a little hard to differentiate, but oh well. We're just about a little more than half full, so hopefully the rest will fit. We will see. So let's keep going. I hate to say it, but we have an imposter here among the iPods. These, in fact, are not iPods. These are remote controls for Apple TVs and MacBooks. Hard to believe it, but old MacBooks, the white and black MacBooks, used to come with remote controls. So, I don't know. Maybe these will be honorary iPods. Not sure. Next step, I separated out the iPhones from the mess. So, you know, we're making good progress here. Hopefully all this will fit. Yeah, these are iPhone 4s and 5s, that kind of thing. And then these are second and third gen, I would say. And these guys are first gen iPhones. These are ridiculously expensive for some reason. Not exactly sure. I mean, like the first gen iPad is worthless, but the first gen iPhone is $300. I don't quite get it, but there you go. Okay, it is nano time. I'm gonna do the nanos all at once because I need to get done with this video so that I can move on with my life. Yeah, so starting off with 65 Generation 1 nanos. They're reminiscent of iPod 5 in that they have that sort of ugly, clear slab of plastic on the front that gets scratched up and just doesn't look too great. Then we have 60 second gen nanos, which are reminiscent of iPod 6 and 7 in that they have the sort of curved case and, well, they're more colorful. That's nice. Yeah. This one, I don't know what the heck this is. Very strange. Yeah, I don't know if it just has modifications or if it's counterfeit entirely. It does seem to operate like an iPod, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe someone knows what that is. So anyway, those are the second gen, 60 of those. Now we have 41 of the third gen. Third gen is the Fat Boy model. These are just, I don't know. This is probably my favorite iPod. Just something about the chunkiness of it makes it kind of interesting. And then we have 4th gen, which they're strikingly colorful, like really radiant colors. Got 36 of those. And then 5th gen, which are basically the same, except they have a bigger screen, little taller screen, and they also have a camera, which is, you know, not a bad thing. 21 of those. Then we have the iPod that no one ever asked for, the belt buckle, the 6th gen. We have 11 of those. Harder to see what color they are because there's just not a lot of metal on the front. 11 of those, 6th gen, and then 7th gen, we have 11 of those as well. 7th gen is actually really cool because it's got lightning, and I think it has Bluetooth as well, so that makes it pretty functional even today. So there you have it, the assortment of iPod Nanos. Checking in with the shelf, I have to say that the Nanos just look incredible, all lined up like that. The colors separated. Wow. They look really good. These guys didn't want to stand up. They're just kind of curved in such a way that they get a little slippery. So it helped that the belt buckles are kind of forming a barrier there. But yeah, wow, look at that. All right, and finally, we have the shuffles. Shuffles 1 through 4. We have 6 first-gen shuffles, only one with a lanyard attachment. These guys are interesting. This little thing pops off there, and you have a USB port. I bet no one ever lost this, you know? How could you possibly lose that? It's amazing that all these still have it. Then we have 60 2nd-gen shuffles. Very colorful, nice looking things. Oh yeah, some of these were just like super metallic, like oddly metallic, and then I noticed this one, the arrow, the thing is pointing the wrong way, and then I looked at it, I don't remember an Apple product having a micro SD slot and that style USB connector, so I think this is probably counterfeit. I don't know, I'm just guessing there. And then 3rd gen, we have 3. Colin said these were just not popular at all, and I would not doubt that. Yeah, they're just so plain. I can imagine people just tossing them over their shoulder, just like, they don't even give you the indication that they're electronic devices. They just seem like some little gadget. So yeah, I can see why they weren't popular. They depended entirely on the proprietary earbuds with connector on the cord. And then we have 4th gen shuffle, 27 of these. Very nice looking. I love the look of that. So yeah, there you go, shuffle 1 through 4. Okay, now the moment you've all been waiting for, the installation of the 3rd gen on the shelf. There you go. Look at that. There they are. So the question now is to iPod Touch or to not iPod Touch. A lot of them are fairly unremarkable, and there are a lot of them, so I don't know. I don't know if they'd all fit. So I don't know. We'll go back and look at those. All right. We have so many iPod Touches that the final ones didn't even fit laid out on the tables. There's just so much here. Turned out to be harder than I expected to identify these. They're just a little tricky that way because they all look the same. This is the 1st gen. We have 49 of those. They have a pretty distinctive front to them. And the corner, as you can see, it's got kind of a little square plastic deal there. So they're pretty easy. But 2nd gen and 3rd are a different story. We have 97 2nd gens. 2nd gens have this sort of oval. 36 3rd gens, but the problem is they look basically the same. There are really no identifiers that tell you the difference. other than third gen goes up to 64 gig. So I separated out the 64 gig. There might be some third gens in here that are 32 gig, but I don't care. It just doesn't matter. So anyway, moving on, fourth gen, we have 99. I kind of like these. These are kind of cool. They're a little bit lighter and smaller. They have a camera. They're high capacity, like 64, 32 gig. So they have no black plastic on the back and the camera in the corner. That's how you identify those. So yeah, kind of like fourth gen. Don't know what's up with the colors there. Third-party add-ons, I guess. And then we have the fifth gen. Fifth gen really kind of threw me. So there are two variations of fifth gen. There's the one without a camera, which is these guys. And then there's the one with a camera, which is these guys. So in total, we have 32 fifth gen. What threw me was, I don't know, I assumed like, I don't know what that is, but I assumed like more stuff on the camera meant it was newer. So I assumed these were the newer ones, but in fact, they're not. They're fifth gen. And yeah, so without camera, with camera. And then sixth gen, I have 47. And that's what these guys look like. They took away that little gizmo. Have a few colors of those guys. 47. And unfortunately, a lot of these newer ones tend to be activation locked or remote managed by schools and institutions, which is a real shame because they're beautiful little devices. I mean, they're just ideal. They're so small. They're smaller than the phone. So unless you know how to bypass them or change the serial number, it's tricky to deal with those because the majority end up locked. So that's pretty much it. And oh, there's one thing. I am ashamed to admit that after all of this nonsense, I am missing an iPod model. I am missing the iPod Touch 7th generation. Yeah, it is A2178. I don't know much about it. I think it's pretty close to the 6th gen. And it makes sense I wouldn't have them because they're pretty new and maybe recyclers haven't gotten many yet. But yeah, all of this today, and I'm missing an iPod. So anyway, what I'm sure you're all on the edge of your seats about is, will these fit on the shelf? So let's see. Well, I don't believe it, but all 1,026 iPods fit on the shelf. I really thought the Touches were gonna go over the limit of this thing, but it worked out. Incredible. 1,026 iPods. They look so nice. I'm really gonna appreciate them a lot more on here than I did, tucked away in boxes. So the next question is, what am I going to do with these things? I know people are going to ask, and people aren't going to like the answer, actually. I'm going to keep them. I'm going to keep them as sort of a time capsule, I guess you could say. Just keep them and see what happens in 5-10 years. I don't think there's anything wrong with not using devices like this right now. There's no urgency to get them out there in the world, to get them fixed and get them into people's hands. In fact, the more transactions that go on with devices, the more get lost, the more get damaged. And there's no real issue with these as far as batteries. People bring that up a lot. Because as long as they're not stored in high temperature places, the batteries are somewhat dormant. I haven't powered these on. If you power them on, the battery comes alive and it'll start swelling and smash the screen, stuff like that. But yeah, as long as if the batteries aren't charged, it's fine. So there's no harm being done by devices just sitting. And I think it actually is a good thing to keep them around for years and just see what the future holds. They're definitely not going down in value. And I think people of the future will be more interested in these and be more amazed by these than people right now who lived with these as a kid or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to keep them for now. I might, when things get slow, try my hand at refurbishing these devices. But right for now, I have, quite a bit more to do. I would say if you want stuff like this, people are always coming to me and saying, hey, let me buy from you. I would say though, don't buy from me, buy from electronics recyclers. Recyclers are scrapping stuff like this every day. 100 times this amount gets scrapped every day at recyclers because they're just not worth their time. They need someone to show up and say, hey, I'll pay you $5, I'll pay you $7 per iPod. Just put them aside for me and I'll buy all of them, any condition, no questions asked. And maybe, if you're lucky, a recycler will listen to you and care enough and get you stuff like this, and then you can have your own collection. And the ones I bought have already been saved from recyclers. So buying from me, you're not saving them. They've already been saved. So if you really care about the environment and you really want to save devices that deserve to be repaired, go to the recyclers yourself and pick these up and keep them from being scrapped. So anyway, thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, yeah, it's been quite an adventure today, and hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.